Welcome into the Cover 3 podcast. My name is Sterling Bennett. To my left, my right, beside me here on the screen is Aaron from 49ers First Takes, and underneath me is Dre from Dre Area Sports. And today we're going to get into John Lynch's NFL Combine press conference. What did he say about Trent Williams? Who did he hint about returning to San Francisco in 2026? Wink, wink, might be someone you don't want to bring back in 2026. The NFL free agency class, what they plan to do, and more importantly, what did the NFLPA grade the San Francisco 49ers in 2025? Aaron, Dre, how you doing?
I'm doing good, man. Just trying to enjoy the day. I'm off work. I'm off tomorrow. Friday night, usually game night with the kids.
Nice.
If they don't invite the little other friends over, then I get pushed to the side. But still, looking forward to it. Looking forward to talking about the Niners. I mean, look, it's the off season, and there's so much to talk about right now. And I think going into this off season, we were kind of like, well, there might not be that much to talk about week to week because it's the off season. No, every week is that there's something happening. It's almost as if the Niners are like, hey, look. We got to make sure the content creators have something to talk about. So let's plan this out week by week and how we're going to either fuck something up or do a really good job at something, and then they're going to go crazy about it. So I'm just happy to be here, though.
There is one thing that remains true. Whether they win, whether they lose, the Niners always are content-driven. Aaron, though, how you feeling? I know the NFL Combine's happening right now. People are testing. Prospects are running around, doing their 40s, doing their vertical jumps and everything. But it is Friday. It hopefully is a payday Friday for the folks out there. But Aaron, how you doing today? It's almost the weekend. We're having a good time.
Yeah, I mean, it's always good to hang out with you guys and talk Niners on a Friday. I missed it when you guys we weren't able to do it for those weeks that we couldn't. The thing with me right now in the offseason is like every time you think the Niners are going to go into an offseason and not have any drama or any real conversation, like, oh, it's the offseason, it might get a little slow. There's always something. I mean, literally, there's always something with 49ers. It wouldn't be the 49ers in the offseason if some sort of just ridiculous things started happening, whether it's contracts or, we'll talk about it a little bit, NFLPA grades, whatever. So in a way, for content creators like yourself, myself, and Dre, it's perfect. So keep it coming.
Keep it coming. Scream 7 came out last night. Going to go see that with the wifey today. Should be fun.
I can't believe there's 7 of those. I can't believe it.
It is turning into a parody of itself. Scream 6 has a trailer before Scream 7, so the world is finally returning back to what it used to be in the mid-2000s.
I saw Scream 1 and Scream 2 in the theater. Then after that, I was like, holy crap, it's a part 3, it's a part 4. Now we're up to part 7. Yeah, it reminds me of, remember Tropic Thunder?
Oh, yeah.
He's like, Scorcher 7, you know? It's like that. It's like, when does it ever end?
Well, it's funny because Scream has their own parody movies in the universe called Stab, and there's Stab 8, which is a big part of Scream 5, and now they're at Scream 7. So it is, in a way, kind of becoming what it was making fun of in the first couple of movies. But let's forget Scream for a second and Ghostface, and let's get into the San Francisco 49ers on this Friday afternoon, because, like you said, Dre, there is so much to get into, and I think the biggest topic of conversation inside of John Lynch's NFL Combine press conference isn't the combine itself. It's not the prospects and who could they draft, which prospect do they like. It has to do with the future of Trent Williams, because seemingly out of nowhere, we got a tweet by Adam Schefter that said the Niners and Trent Williams have reached somewhat of an impasse in contract negotiations, and there's a possibility if they can't figure things out, they might release their future Hall of Fame left tackle. And lo and behold, that was 90 minutes prior to John Lynch taking the stage and talking to the media. Aaron, when you first saw that tweet saying that the Niners could actually release Trent Williams if they can't find a new deal, what was your thought?
I dare them to. Like, he's your best offensive lineman by far.
By far.
And you love your offensive line, especially Jake Brandel. So, yeah. Whatever.
Our King Jake.
Trent Williams, kind of crazy that this is the third off season that he wants more money. But I mean,
It's the second time in 3 seasons he wants more money.
But they're trying to set themselves up for generational wealth after they're playing. So I'm a little irritated that he's asking for more money, but at this point, you have to be ready for anything. So I wasn't necessarily like pissed off about it or really that surprised. The fact that John was about to speak and then he had to touch on that, which is, he likes to say a whole lot of nothing at those press conferences and not really address a thing. And the fact that he had to kind of jump on that one and then put that fire out right away was it's entertaining because John doesn't like to really answer any questions. So,
well, it's all strategic, right? Your GM's going up there to talk to the media. Your agent leaks something out, put pressure on the organization, and they see how they respond, kind of put the ball in their court saying, we may ask for a release. We may want out of here if we don't find a middle ground of money. Before I ask Dre what he thinks of Trent wanting a new contract and the potential he gets released in this offseason, which I don't think is very high. But Dre, when you saw the tweet come across the screen, were your thoughts, are you effing kidding me? Or was it like, what else do we expect nowadays? It's Trent Williams of all people asking for money.
It didn't surprise me when I read it. I was like, okay. But I mean, the bottom line is that if you cut Trent Williams, you save how much? Like $4 million?
Yeah.
I think it was $4 million. When you hear that, you're like, okay, well, they're not going to cut him. So they're just going to restructure his deal. And here's the thing is that I want to say he has 1 more year left on his contract and a player option in April. I think that he's not ready to hang it up. He wants to keep playing, and he doesn't want to go into the season knowing like it's my final season of my contract and I don't know where I'm going to be after the season. No, he wants to stay where he's at. He wants to redo his contract. And he probably wants the contract to go for at least 2 to 3 more years. And so he wants to set that up because, it doesn't make any sense to cut him only to save $4 million. No, you don't do that. Look, the other possibility is, let's say you're like, hey, look, we can't come to an agreement. We're just going to trade him. Now, if you went to trade him, you could probably get, quite the haul for him. But I don't know. How much do you think you would get for Trent Williams from other teams? He's really old. He's 38 years old. If this guy was 27, that's a whole different story. Then it's like, hey, we're giving you our entire future draft picks because we want that guy. For him being 38, I don't know how much you'd be able to get for him. You'd still be able to get something, obviously, but I just think it's a matter of time before they settle on a number and restructure his contract, and he's back with the team. So I'm not really worried about it because I just don't see a scenario in which San Francisco parts ways with Trent Williams.
Do both of you think this is a good or bad thing for the future and the current status of the 49ers? Aaron, what do you think of that?
I think it's bad because, one of the things that has been stressing me out, me and Mike talked about it on Monday, is like they have this really old core of players and they're super loyal to them. And I heard Mayoka say something about in the next couple of years, the Niners are going to have to make tough decisions as far as like, moving off of guys, as they age and, look to get younger. I think that the thing me and Mike talked about is just like the Niners have been so bad drafting that like they're trying to squeeze the lemon out of these old players so much because they don't really have anything coming through the door or in the door right now that they could say, okay, if Trent needs to go, he can go, and we have this guy waiting in the wings. And it's like that across the roster. So it's like he's got them kind of over a barrel. Like, what's your option? Who are you going to go with? So that's the sucky part. Like when you biff a bunch of drafts in a row and you have to depend on guys and they know you have to depend on them so they can take you for what you're worth. So that's kind of where I am on that.
Yeah, but like they never really said that like, oh, he's doing this because he wants more money. He wants to get paid like the top paid guys in the league at his position. It sounds to me like it's just more, look, back on January 18th, he said, I'm nowhere near done. So we've got a few more years. I'm not leaving. I ain't going nowhere. So I think that's still his mentality. And I think with him only having 1 year left, he's probably like, hey, I want to restructure this, and because I'm not done playing, and I don't. He probably doesn't want to leave. If he didn't want to play for San Francisco anymore, then he would just try and leave.
Yeah,
he'd say either trade me, or after the season he's going to go test free agency. But I would imagine if he wasn't going to stay here long term, or didn't see any reason to want to stay here for another 2 or 3 years, I think he'd be asking for a trade. Now, do I think the Niners are still in their Super Bowl window? I think they have at least 2 years left with these core players that are aging. I know they're trying to draft and replace all these players, but that's going to take time. And it's hard to retool your team with new players, young players, when you still have your older veteran stars that are still there. Usually, you got to go through the sucky phase for a couple of years before you get back to, being a badass again. So that's usually how it happens. You get like a good 4-year window where you're like, hey, this is it. We're ready to rock. And then you kind of go down, you got to rebuild, and you come back up again. So, like I said, I haven't heard any comments of him wanting more money. I think it's just longevity. I don't think he's ready to hang it up after 1 year.
Well, the sticking point, I don't think it's like the sum of money. I think it comes down to guaranteed money. He has none left on his contract. He wants the promise of, hey, if I continue to play for you, I want to make sure my money and my future financial situation is guaranteed in my pocketbook, which makes sense, right? And I am having a hard time finding the negative in paying Trent more money, or at least paying him again, whether it's for the future of the team, the current iteration of the team. And Aaron, Dre, tell me I'm wrong here, but when I sit back and I think of, what are the pros and cons of paying Trent Williams? The con really only is you're paying a guy a lot of money, which, okay, you're already paying him a lot of money. And then 2, there's injury history, right? He had the ankle a couple years ago. I think they set things up knowing that he's getting older and they are going to have to renegotiate at some point. That some point is now. Like, they were kind of building up to this point in the contract, not knowing if Trent wanted to come back or if he wanted to keep playing. But the pros to me are that a 38-year-old left tackle who was damn good last year, like top 5 left tackle in football last year. He played 17 games. I know he missed a game against the Seahawks down the stretch, which really didn't matter when you look at it overall of how things went for them. I don't think hosting a playoff game would have changed the outcome of that one against Seattle. But Trent was really good last year. And I think when you have a verbal and he's trying to get a financial commitment to stay, that to me is exactly what you want. You want to have the blind side of Brock Purdy protected for the long term, having Trent back for 2-3 more years until he hits 40 years old. And you can talk about, fall off and lack of production, but you haven't seen that yet. So why would you expect it? Right. Mm-hmm. And to kind of continue with that, it's okay. You pay Trent more money, you give him guaranteed money. It lowers his cap hit. Like, it helps him financially now. It helps him on the field now. It helps him on the field next year and the year after that. It protects your franchise quarterback who you paid a ton of money, who himself has injury history. You can maybe get into, well, you want to find the heir apparent. You want to find the next left tackle. The Niners don't do that, ever. Joe Staley retired and they said, oh, crap, got to find the next guy. And Trent fell into their lap. They are not going to address the backup left tackle spot thinking, well, that's the heir apparent, until Trent is going to hang it up. They can now address the defensive line more. God forbid they want to attack left guard and center in the draft. They can go address other positions, knowing that, you got to pay Trent some more money, but that's locked up for the next 2 to 3 seasons. Like, that to me is a good thing. Aaron, what do you think about that? I know you're more fickle on paying an older player more money than I am, but what do you think about that? Is it more pros or is there more cons there?
The pro is what you guys said. You have a lockdown left tackle protecting your quarterback. I think just the cons are, they've kind of closed their wallets the last year, and could be like that this year. And it's just like the more money you got like allocated to like old players who have injury history, I don't know. It doesn't feel good because it's like, man, that could really go to, another defensive lineman, or that could go to a left guard, or that could go because they're not like the Rams of the last half decade where it's just like they don't care about draft picks. They just go and spend all their cap money because they're trying to get good right now. They're not trying to wait for it. I don't know. I mean, like, it's cool. We don't have to worry about it. I don't even think, to be honest with you, Sterling, even if they he retires, I don't even think they're going to draft the future left tackle. I think they'll just sign somebody off the market and replace them that way. I just think that they just don't draft offensive linemen. So what they're doing now with Trent, it'll probably continue with another left tackle once he's done. So it's the pros and the cons. You want that money to be allocated somewhere else, but at the end of the day, who's better? Is there a guy in the draft right now that you would put at left tackle for the 49ers to protect Brock's blind side? Probably not. So
no.
When and Dre, hop in whenever you want to here, but I'm trying to find the negative of where is the downfall? Your fans are complaining he might get released, they might trade him. It's like the Niners have no leverage, and really it benefits them so much to pay this guy. Yeah, you can get into the age and everything. They paid a 30-year-old George Kittle last year and he tore his Achilles. Now, again, you can't predict that. Happened in the last game of the year, technically, kind of, just crazy things happen. Fred Warner, who never got hurt last year and was out for almost the whole year. And they paid him a lot of money. And Brock, who also got hurt last year and came back and played phenomenal. But for the first time, I think since 2023, Trent played a full season, basically. And those are the people you want to reward. Trent has never really been bad, even when he's hurt. And, you would hurt your team in so many other, you already have a hole at left guard. You already have holes on the defensive line. You have holes at linebacker. You have holes at safety. You want to create a bigger one by letting go of your Hall of Fame left tackle? That doesn't make sense to me. So it does seem like, and maybe I can get your guys yes or no on this, do you think they're going to pay Trent this offseason? And more importantly, do you think it gets done before the draft? Because I don't want to hold out. That is the tricky part. You cannot have Trent hold out. That's when you have cause for concern. Paying him is not a cause for concern, but the holdout is the cause for concern. But do you think this thing gets done pre-draft?
I don't know if it gets done pre-draft. I hope it does, but either way, I think it's going to get done. I'm really not even worried about it because he's such a valuable part of their offensive line. If they had an O-line that was just already had two other really good offensive linemen, then they might say, okay, you know what? We can kind of retool that spot or rotate somebody over there, but they don't. And so, it's hard for me to say yes or no if it's going to happen before the draft, but I think either way, it's just going to happen. Just a matter of time.
Okay, I'll rephrase that. Let's say it's not before the draft. Let's say, do you think it happens before training camp? Because that feels like the hard deadline. He has a $10 million bonus, I think, due April 1st. So that could come into play, but training camp being somewhat of a hard deadline, do you think it gets done? Because Trent will hold out. He has no fear of not coming into training camp, being in shape, ready to go. He does not care about that. He wants his money. Aaron, do you think it gets done before training camp?
It could go right up to training camp, and at his age now, does he really need to be there for OTAs? You know what I mean?
He better be. He's 38. You need more time to get ready at that point.
Right. No, that's true. But at the end of the day, a lot of veteran players, they're not, when the mini camps are mandatory, not all of them show up. I think they will get something done. I can almost guarantee it. Do I think it gets done before the draft? No, I do not.
Okay.
The Niners, when it comes to contracts, love to play the long game, and that's usually how it goes. But I think they're going to get something done because what's their option? What's their other option? They don't have one. So. Okay.
Yeah. I do want to give a shout out to those in the YouTube chat right now. Bobo, Strawberry Reacts, Joseph Ernberg, Niner Goat 16. And then we have Gabriel from New York. And then we have at the last second, we have B.A. Jones and D Meeks. Thank you guys so much for watching us on YouTube. And let's continue to move the show on and progress into the next thing that John Lynch had to say at the NFL Scouting Combine. And that is in regard to the wide receiver room. As things currently stand, it's not looking very good. You're going to lose Brandon Aiyuk, rightfully so. He'll get cut. Get him out of here. It sounds like they're going to let Juwan Jennings test the market and let him set his own market value, which, again, also makes sense. Leaving Ricky Pearsall, who has maybe missed as many games as he's played. Demarcus Robinson, who is in the final year of his contract and had one good game all last season. Jordan Watkins, who has done nothing. I think he has one catch on his career and didn't play for 99% of the games. Jacob Cowling, who John Lynch says they're expecting big things from, didn't play a single offensive snap last year and didn't play many 2 years ago. And that's it. There's not many proven pieces in that room, but the expectation is this offseason, wide receiver will be a very important piece of the free agency and draft class for San Francisco. John Lynch said they have the opportunity to improve themselves by bringing new guys in, but more importantly here, bringing players back that have been with us before. When you heard that, did your mind go to, oh, it's just Juwan Jennings? Oh, it's Kendrick Bourne? Or did your mind go to somebody else, Ray?
Oh, I went immediately to Deebo Samuel. It also went immediately to Dre Greenlaw. If Dre Greenlaw gets cut, which it looks like that's what's going to happen, is that, I should say, is a big chance he's going to be a cut casualty. I think that if he gets cut, the Niners will reach out to him and offer him probably a 1-year deal. I don't see them going for a 2-year deal. I mean, they literally went to his house and tried to talk him out of his contract with the Broncos, even though he had already agreed to it. Like, what? I think they're going to make a play to bring him back. And when it comes to receiver, yeah, I think they're going to bring back Deebo Samuel. I absolutely do. Now, if they bring back Deebo and that's all they do at receiver, we have a problem. Then it's like, okay, that's like a San Francisco Giants move where you go get somebody that you had before.
It's Hunter Pence all over again.
Yeah, but then you didn't get anybody else. You're like, well, wait, that's cool you brought him back. That's cool you brought back Richard Riley to play third base. But you didn't go out and get anybody else. Like, what? I'm okay if you do that, but then you got to get somebody else in here, you know? So if you do that and you make a trade for a Jordan Addison, Justin Jefferson, what have you, then it's okay. Then it's like, well, hey, if I got this star receiver, I got Ricky Pearsall, and then I got Deebo Samuel, that's not that bad. Okay, I can live with that. But
Aaron,
I don't think I just think that there's a chance that they bring back Deebo, and that's it. If you want to ask me what I think they're going to do, and this is not what I want them to do, this is what I think they're going to do, is that they are going to bring back Deebo Samuel. And I think that the money that Juwan Jennings wants, I think they give that money to Mike Evans. And I think you get Mike Evans, Ricky Pearsall, Deebo Samuel. Because I think that the reason why is because they see this as next year is their probably best chance to win a Super Bowl. 2 years from now, who knows? But next year, your aging core, this is probably the last year you can do that, right? The last year you could feel confident saying, yeah, we can get this done. Do I think these guys are going to be good players next 3-4 years? Yeah, I do. But next year is probably their best shot. And so I think that if you go get a guy to replace Juwan Jennings and Mike Evans, who's bigger, stronger, faster, not extremely fast, but better, and I'd be willing to pay him the money that Juwan Jennings wants. I would pay him $20+ million a year for the next year, 2 years to try and win a Super Bowl. And then if I did that, I would bring back Deebo Samuel on a much smaller contract because, let's face it, how big of a market does Deebo Samuel have? They'll probably cut him off for like $7 million, $8 million, and bring him in here with some incentives that could take him up to like 13. But he has to perform.
Aaron, when you hear the Niners are thinking of bringing somebody back that was already on the team. We probably all thought of Deebo Samuel. It really does seem like it's a foregone conclusion they're going to bring back Deebo, the way Kittle talked about it before the Super Bowl, the way Christian McCaffrey talked about it on Radio Row, the way John Lynch kind of hinted towards it. I think we can all agree. If Deebo comes back, we don't love it, right? It's like, okay, kind of a reversion back to what we were before. And there's bigger questions as to, does Kyle Shanahan fall back into the hole of Deebo, save me, Deebo, game plan for you only, nobody else? That terrifies me. But my bigger question to you, Aaron, is with the way things ended in 2024, Deebo calling out his teammates on Twitter, Deebo complaining about not getting touches despite him having the most touches on the offense that year, it felt like you needed a fresh start. That is hey, we tried this for a while. We didn't really enjoy ourselves. It's like dating somebody, right? Okay, you tried it. It's run its course. Let's move on, get a fresh start. San Francisco got their fresh start. It went to the playoffs and won 12 games. Won a playoff game last year. Whereas Deebo, he went to Washington and everybody got hurt. And it wasn't a great year for that team.
Not a good year.
Do you think this is maybe Deebo initiating a return, knowing that Kyle is kind of the safety blanket of like, I want to come home where I'm safe and I know I can work things out here? Or do you think Kyle's pushing for this of, I want Deebo Samuel back?
Weren't they all at a party together?
They were, yes.
And if Kyle really has some serious problems with him, like, why would he be there and talking to all the guys? He was there talking to everybody. It's like relationships. Sometimes like somebody goes and tries something new and they find out that grass isn't greener on the other side. And then they come back to the lover that they scorned and they kiss and make up. The weird thing it is with me that really gets under my skin is like at the end of the year press conference, they say a bunch of things and they get you kind of excited. And I remember having this conversation with you guys and Mike that they say a bunch of stuff at the press conferences.
Like what though?
Just,
like what?
We need, the speed thing and like, they need to get quicker. They seem slower and it really kind of showed itself last year. And then you want to bring in a guy like Deebo who's lost like 3 steps. And like, it's funny, Dre DM'd me that scenario and I'm like, get the fuck out of here. And then the press conference happens and I'm like, oh my God, he actually is right. And then like bringing in Mike Evans, he's old.
He's old. This is like bringing in Evan Longoria and
Andrew McCutcheon.
McCutcheon.
What I mean is like
you're just like, okay.
They say stuff, right? But they always go back to the comfortable thing, the thing that they feel the most sure about, even if it's an aging player. Instead of being like, maybe we can just figure out the fucking draft and bring in new people to play those positions. They are so behind the 8 ball with so many misses that they have to kind of go grovel at people that used to be on the team and say, hey, you want to come back, get another run at it? You're probably not going to have as good of a chance in Washington as you are here. We still got a good quarterback. We still have Fred. We still have Nick. We still have Kittle. We still have Christian. And maybe he was like, I guess so. I mean, it can't be worse. So I don't know, man. I'm just weird on this whole, like, bring the gang back together when that gang never won a Super Bowl.
But that's what I'm telling you. It feels like, when George Kittle met with Deebo Samuel at that party, it kind of felt like, let's get the band back together again. Like, dude, come back, dude. Let's fucking do this. And that's what it feels like. But again, like, believe it or not, I'm somewhat all right bringing him back, but that can't be the answer. That can't be like, we brought back Deebo and then we're going to look to the draft. Like, wait, what? Like, when are you going to draft in the early rounds? Well, we don't know yet. So I know they love Juwan Jennings. I know that. But if I were to tell you, like, hey, next year our starting 3 receivers is going to be Juwan Jennings, Ricky Pearsall, Deebo Samuel. To me, that is not enough. That's just like, all right. That's all right. Two guys don't even get separation.
I would much rather pay Juwan Jennings $18 million a year than bring back Deebo Samuel on a 1-year contract and draft somebody else.
But would you rather pay Mike Evans or Juwan Jennings?
Don't pay Mike Evans at all. Juwan Jennings, by far.
By far. Why? Why
not pay a superior?
Because Brock Purdy has chemistry with Juwan Jennings. They know how he play. Juwan Jennings blocks. He's been pretty healthy his entire time in San Francisco. He plays hurt. He's a dog. I mean, hell, he has the second best arm on the whole team. It's not the best arm in the quarterback room right now. Like, that dude is clutch as hell in playoff games. Everyone wants to talk about, this team doesn't play good in big games. Christian McCaffrey fumble in the Super Bowl. Trent Williams didn't play good against Kansas City in the Super Bowl. George Kittle, shoulder, and Deebo, played great in almost every playoff game they've had, minus the last one against Seattle. Juwan Jennings. And you have a franchise quarterback you're paying a lot of money to. Don't take away his weapons. Now, I'm okay letting Juwan Jennings walk. What I'm not okay doing is saying, Juwan, you can walk, and we're going to give the money that you want to a 35-year-old, 34-year-old ex-receiver that might play one more year off a season where he didn't play all but 6 games. You draft a receiver in round 1 or round 2, whether it's Denzel Boston from Washington, hopefully Omar Cooper's there, maybe it's Malachi Fields in round 2 or 3, I don't know. But if you have to find Purdy the next crop of his weapons. He doesn't have weapons. You can't give him a 29-year-old guy and a 35-year-old guy and a 30-year-old tight end and a near 30 running back. Now, you don't have to replace all those guys, but you have to find the core. We're all begging for the next core of offensive pieces.
Yep.
And I don't think paying Mike Evans and Deebo Samuel for a year or two is worth that at all. Like, no, that's a net negative. You may win a couple games, but Mike Evans could have a hamstring strain again all year long. Give me a 22-year-old guy I can at least take a risk on and say, hey, he may be a bust, but at least he's not 35 in the twilight of his career with no kind of high-end potential left.
Okay, I would say this. Look, do I agree with you? Yes, I would love to get younger, get faster, and build through the draft. Will they do that? Probably not, because Kyle Shanahan loves to have guys that he can trust, guys that he can rely on. He has not developed Jordan Watkins. He has not developed Jacob Cowing. He has not developed any young receiver whatsoever. Barely Ricky Pearsall, but he's been getting hurt one hit after another. That's why I feel like that if they're like, hey, let's make a big play at a receiver, they're going to get somebody that they can get at a Juwan Jennings rate that's going to, because they want Brock to have a big target. They want him to have a big guy. He's a small guy. He's got to look over the receivers. We got to give him a big target. But they don't want, they would love to bring Juwan Jennings back, but if he prices himself out of their market, then they're going to go elsewhere. And that's the only guy I can see them saying, you know what? He's a big target. He's a big play receiver. He'd be a huge factor in the red zone, just like they did with Devontae Adams.
So
that's why I say that. Now, do I want them to sign Mike Evans? No, not really, but I could see them going that route and saying, hey, we got a bona fide red zone threat in Mike Evans.
See, but here's my concern, and Aaron, I'll let you jump in after this, but like, my concern is you don't draft replacements for Juwan Jennings in round 1, round 2, or even round 3. And if you're Kyle Shanahan, you don't even start receivers that aren't picked on day 1 or early day 2.
You don't.
Like, Deebo Samuel is the only second-round draft pick to ever start from day 1 on the team. And you have Aiyuk and Pearsall, the other 2 first-round receivers, and those guys played basically on day 1, albeit Pearsall was shot. So there's context as to why. But if you're the Niners, you can't wait till round 3, round 4, round 5. They're not going to play. Even Jordan Watkins last year. We had a question in the YouTube chat, if I can find it really fast, that, really it's why haven't or what will it take for Jordan Watkins to get out of the doghouse? The question really isn't what will it take Jordan Watkins to get out of the doghouse, at least in my opinion. It's why does every young wide receiver find themselves in the doghouse? Now, I get it. Kyle's really particular. He has to have guys hit his quotas, whether it's speed and blocking. Okay, fine. Jordan Watkins really isn't a burner. He has some speed, but you're begging that guy to run block for you, which he's okay at, but he's a down the field go up and get it, contested catch guy. You have a quarterback that wants to throw the ball deep and wants to give guys an opportunity. I don't think the question really is, what will it take Jordan Watkins to get out there? The question is, why doesn't Kyle find ways to use the guys he already has in the building? There's no reason for Kendrick Bourne to be playing last year. He didn't know the offense in a playoff game. We had
he was like, what are you doing? What are you doing?
We had Malik Turner getting snaps in playoff games because Kyle's too stubborn. Like, what are we doing? So I think if you're a Niner fan and you're saying you got to get younger, got to get faster, you better be begging that wide receiver to get picked in round 1 or round 2, because you're not going to see them if they're not. And that's a problem for sure. But Aaron, when you hear the thought of, Mike Evans and Deebo Samuel or drafting a guy, does that sound like a legitimate plan to surround your franchise quarterback with the weapons he needs to win? And even deeper here, does that give you confidence that that's the next crop or core of stars this team needs to get over the hump?
They need to break in new players, man. Like this whole dependency on guys that were here before. See, that's why the whole Aiyuk situation is so horrible. Because you have Aiyuk, right? Then you have Ricky Pearsall if he stays healthy. Those are your top 2 receivers, right? Then you can let a Jawan Jennings go and bring another guy in, maybe for less in free agency, and maybe draft another guy in like round 5 or something to kind of take place of him. But they got none of that. And then this whole thing where like, let's bring in old and more old. If I'm them, I triple dip. I bring in a 1-year guy. I bring in maybe another 2nd or 3rd like receiver in free agency, and then I draft a guy as well. Like they need speed and youth. They need to have an offense that can threaten people downfield, because they play in like a 12-yard box where they do nothing and they just sit there, and they're so easy to defend if you have a good pass rush and sticky corners. You know what I mean? Like,
Aaron, if I told you their 1-year deal is Deebo Samuel, the guy they bring back for the next 2 to 3 years is Jawan Jennings, and they draft a guy in round 1 or 2, does that make you happy? Or are you like,
no,
it's not enough?
I know you guys are going to freaking scoff at me, but I saw it in the comments. I would be, but they just 1-year incentive-laden deal to all he does is take the top off the defense, or you can use him for end rounds. Like, and then you have Pearsall if he stays healthy, and then if one or either Watkins or Cowling becomes anything, and then maybe you bring in another guy as well. Like, they need speed. They need people that can, burn some ass on the field. But this whole like obsession, why? Like, don't tell us at the press conference at the end of the year that you understand and see what everybody else is seeing. But yet when push comes to shove, you're going to panic and go right back to the stuff that you've done before. To me, I don't know, man. So that's what happens when you don't draft well.
So kind of diving more into what the plan is in free agency. John Lynch talked about the Niners are going to be quote unquote targeted. He didn't mention positions. He didn't mention certain players because you can't right now really. But he mentioned they're going to be in a different word specific as to who they go after. Whether that's replenishing on defense and getting Raheem Morris the guys he wants, whether it is paying for some offensive stars. But he finished that statement by essentially saying that our lifeblood is the NFL draft. When you hear that, I know they haven't drafted well in recent seasons, so, you'll have to forgive them at some point. Or at least not be too negative on how bad they've drafted in recent years. But when you hear the lifeblood is the NFL draft, does that make you think, Aaron, and I know where you're going with this, that this may be a quiet free agency period for San Francisco, and you may be sitting back and late March, late April, sitting there like they didn't do much again for a second straight season, adding people to the roster, and they're relying on the draft to be how they find themselves taking the next step in 2026.
Yeah, like you can't be serious about what you said at the end of January if you're going to sit there and be picky in free agency. The Barrows bombshell said that he thinks they're going to be quiet again this year. It really bothered me because it's not like I don't want you to go out and sign the top names. I don't want you to go out and sign Crosby and have to give up draft picks. I'd rather you not sign an aging Trey Hendrickson who is coming off of an injury last year. I told this to Mike, quantity over quality. Give me more bodies with NFL players, whether that's an interior defensive tackle who is strictly a pass rusher, or bring in another edge rusher who's strictly an edge rusher, or get a veteran safety because you have a hard time really finding a free safety in the draft. Like, do moves like that. And then you go and draft specific guys for specific places on your roster. But if you're going to do nothing, and then you're going to be like, oh, it's only the draft. We got, what do they got, 7 or 8 picks? That's foolish. You're not going to be good next year. I'm sorry. Because if it's an offensive
let's not get
player,
too far ahead of ourselves. They did win 12 games last year.
But if it's an offensive player, Kyle's not going to play him.
Yeah.
And they've had a hard time on defense drafting players, especially edge rushers. I mean, you think of Trig Jackson as one of the biggest whiffs of all time.
Yeah.
And then who's the other guy that they drafted that was an edge rusher that turned out to be garbage?
Solomon Thomas, Robert Beal Jr., Drake
Solomon
Jackson.
Thomas was terrible.
Yeah, but Beal Jr. is a 5th round draft pick. Like, let's see what he comes into. And Drake Jackson, unfortunately for him, got hurt. And while this is their fault, this is really their fault. USC didn't give him a position. It was you're standing up linebacker, you're playing off the ball. Now you're playing on the ball. Now you're an edge rusher. And he's like, I'm having to gain and lose 35 pounds in offseason to figure out what we're going to do. And San Francisco was like, you're playing, hand in the dirt edge rusher for 35 snaps a game. He was like, my legs are jelly, bro. I can't do this anymore. Which is their fault. But we do have a comment by Niners Goat 16 in the chat, which I'll toss this to Dre.
Nice name, by the way, because I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
They mentioned that the Niners, there's a rumor out there, the Niners have or Jed York has a $300 million cap spending budget. And they've already spent that this offseason with guys like Nick Bosa's contract and Brock Purdy's contract and George Kittle's contract, Fred Warner's new deal. Dre, what do you make of that? The fact is that maybe Jed York has a kind of a hard cap. He's like, can't go over it. And San Francisco may already have gone over that.
I don't know. There's a hard cap on their spending. They didn't spend much last season. They relied more on the draft. They made it to the playoffs with a tremendous amount of injuries on the roster. I'm sure Jed's willing to roll the dice again and say, hey, we can make it happen with the guys that we draft and the guys we put on the field in our game planning. But no, I think that they still have to spend money. They still have to bring in some guys, even if they don't go out and sign the big name free agents or make the trade to get a Max Crosby, which I don't think they will. I mean, there's already a report out there that the Lions want to offer 2 first-round picks for Max Crosby, which is like,
yikes.
Those aren't going to be early round draft picks. They're going to be late round pick, late first round picks. So, I think if that was put out there that there is a hard cap, I think it's just to set a precedence that, like, hey, look, I'm going to be watching how much you spend, and when you do have to spend it, you have to tell me about it. Let me know what's going on. It has to go through me.
Do you think do you think John Lynch's words of we're going to be targeted in free agency maybe are hinting towards, we don't have they have plenty of cap space, right? According to David Lombardi,
they do. To be honest,
they have $40 million of cap space.
Right. And to be honest, all of this, along with the draft is our lifeblood and all this crap, well, it hasn't been for a long time, so I don't know what the fuck he's talking about, but to me, they're saying all of this.
Last 2 years it has been.
Yeah, but they're saying all of this because, again, they don't want to seem like they're desperate, to capitalize on their Super Bowl window. They're trying to put the message out there that, like, hey, look, that's our lifeblood. We built through the draft. We develop our players, and that's what we're focused on. Trey Hendrickson, here's a fat contract. Like they don't want to let on that, like, hey, we want to be big spenders. We want to go after big name talent and really make ourselves competitive and we want to challenge for a Super Bowl this year. They don't want to come out and say that. They don't. They want the what's the word? Anonymity. I mispronounced that. Sort of what they had last season, where it's like you don't know what to expect from this team. They're not the team that, like, in 2024, everybody was like, they got to get back. They got to get back to the Super Bowl. They got to get back. After week 1, everybody was like, this team's going to be hella good. We're going to be dominant.
And they all got hurt.
And then they weren't. So I sort of feel like they want to put out the message that their persona is, we're lying in the weeds. We're gonna draft, develop, maybe add a few pieces that aren't too expensive, and just sort of lean on our veterans and our coaching staff, and we believe that we have the right formula. And I think that's the persona that they're putting out there. They don't want to come across a team that is overly aggressive or overly desperate to bring in talent, because then when you reach out to these guys, they're going to want more money, because they're like, oh, well, you already said that you want to be a Super Bowl contender. Well, if you want me, I need $30 million a year. That's what I think they're doing.
Do you think that is, and I'll toss to Aaron for this, do you think that is because the Niners did go through a period of F those draft picks, right? Whether it was trading away compensation picks for guys like Chase Young, Randy Gregory, they traded for Trey Lance, and obviously that fiasco, and they traded for Christian McCaffrey, and they traded for Trent Williams. Like, they have been willing to make these big splash moves and deal serious draft capital away, and it caught up to them the last couple of years, and now they're trying to make up for that lost time. Do you think it's that of, okay, we took some big risks, it really didn't pay off, and now we have an older team that we have to finally invest back into with draft picks and not pay a lot of money, because we got to save some money knowing I'm going to pay guys, which I paid last offseason? Or do you think this is Jed, like last year, being like, look, the roster's too highly paid. Yeah, we'll pay Purdy, we'll pay Fred, we'll pay Kittle. We trust those guys, but I can't have you guys paying another receiver $30 million. I can't have you guys having bad returns on your investments, a la Luke Farrell last season. It does seem like that the team being targeted in free agency is more of a representation of Jed saying, you can't pay for 30 people. You can't go out there and buy 6, 7 free agents. You got to pick 4 you really like, really do your dirty work on, and find out if they can be a contributor for you. And then you can add 6 more guys in the draft and say, oh, we added 10 new pieces to the roster. This team and John Lynch, they've been very vocal about all 11 of our draft picks are still in the organization last year. That to me screams like a team that's not going to spend a lot of money. If they do spend a lot of money, it'll be about 4 guys they really love, and they're going to bank on the draft once again. Aaron, do you like that strategy? You mentioned quantity over quality a couple minutes ago. Where do you sit on that?
That's just I think John Lynch's job could be in jeopardy. And I think he's had the time and the chances to build this team through the draft and bringing in high price free agents. And now it's like, I'm closing my wallet. You need to freaking hunker down and make these picks and make them count. I'm not going to sit here and bail your ass out every time you miss on a Trey Lance or whoever else that you miss. I'm at my wit's end with John Lynch. I really am. Okay. Kyle to me is still an incredible coach, but for the many years I've defended this team tooth and nail, and I've never said anything negative about either Kyle or John. I'm very apologetic for him and everything. But John Lynch comes across to me to someone who's not very genuine anymore. Like just the way that they talk about the injury issue, the way that they, they speak as if they've made these killer draft picks over the last couple of years, our lifeblood. Like Dre said, what are you talking about? You've been absolutely horrendous. I don't know. Are you trying to convince yourself that that's what you are by saying that in the press conference? Because you haven't been a stalwart in the draft. I would say 4 out of the last 5 have been absolutely god awful. I think, the 2022 draft, they don't none of them are on the team or never.
Besides Purdy. Yeah.
It's amazing. I don't know if it's delusion or he's just trying to say the right thing.
You're muted.
Well, no, I agree with him. I mean, that's what they're trying to say. That's what Jed York, I think, finally came down and said. Like, hey, look, you fucked up on the Trey Lance trade. You gave up all those draft picks. Okay. Yeah. In the meantime, what did we do? We went out there and we signed who? We signed Javon Hargrave. We went and we acquired Chase Young, and we tried to sign guys to make up for those losses. Okay. Now we got to the Super Bowl. We got there twice. Once after that trade that bit us in the ass. So now it becomes a thing where he's like, hey, look, I'm all for going after players, but all these teams that are out there winning Super Bowls are drafting stars, are drafting, are hitting on the draft, and you're not. Consistently, you're not, especially in the early rounds. That has to change. We can bring in players, but you have to hit on the draft. Otherwise, then all we are is just a rental team. We're just renting players and then putting ourselves farther and farther in debt until those players are gone. And so I think that is what the Niners are trying to turn themselves into. And that's why I think that this offseason, they're going to say, okay, Bryce Huff, do you want him or don't you want him? Okay, we want him. Okay, there's your other pass rusher. That's going to nix out. Don't go get these other guys. Receiver is probably other than the offensive line has its woes, the receiving core is the biggest issue. You have to bring somebody in. You can't just rely on the draft and draft 3 receivers and have, or have 2 rookie receivers to partner with Watkins, Cowing, and Pearsall. That's a very unproven group of receivers. You got to have somebody out there who's proven. That's why I think Deebo Samuel, he's a veteran, and you bring him around the young guys. He's loud. But there's a comment that Bobo made. As much as I fucking hate the Seahawks, he says this. He says, the Seahawks went after Leonard Williams, DeMarcus Lawrence, Ernest Jones, Cooper Kupp, and they won a Super Bowl. Who is to say the Niners? Yeah. Who is to say, hold on, who is to say the Niners can't bring back Dre Greenlaw, sign Deebo Samuel, sign Mike Evans or another receiver, and maybe acquire another pass rusher like a Trey Hendrickson, who's an every down defensive end, good against the run, and is a pass rusher, and say, hey, you add a guy like Hendrickson with Michael Williams, CJ West, Alfred Collins.
So what you're recommending is spending on 5 free agents.
No, what I'm saying is that if they do what the Seahawks did and bring in some pieces and also draft as well. So let's say you bring in a receiver, right? Sure. You bring in a Deebo Samuel, which it's probably going to happen.
Okay, but in this offseason, in this Niners team, he's your receiver 1, whereas Cooper Kupp is your receiver 3, maybe.
I think Deebo Samuel, if you bring back Deebo, he's your receiver, at least a receiver 2. He can't be your receiver 1. Good God, no. Now, you could argue, well, hell.
But he is based on depth chart status.
Well, but he actually had probably his second, if not third best season of his career last year. He had 72 catches for 700 yards and 5 touchdowns.
It's misled because Seattle already had a big nucleus of talent ready to go. San Francisco doesn't have that right now.
They don't.
Those are cherries on top of the massive cake they've already built that set them over the top. DeMarcus Lawrence wasn't signed for a long-term, long money deal. Cooper Kupp wasn't a massive deal. These are all like, I want to chase a ring teams, and I didn't have a good year the year before, so I'm going to bank on me coming back up the next year, and then it worked out for them.
But they also had a JSN who was already extremely talented.
And a Devin Witherspoon and like 7 safeties that can all play in the NFL. Like, the Niners cannot get in the business, nor should the fans, of comparing themselves to the Seattle Seahawks.
Well, look at their talent now.
Rams, then you are the Seahawks.
You got Deommodore Lenoir. I don't care what people say. You have Renard Green.
He's a cornerback too.
You have
Lenoir's not a step down cornerback. We know that.
What's that?
Lenoir is a CB2. He's not a CB1.
I wouldn't say that. I think he played really good last season.
If he's a 1, he's a low end number 1.
Okay.
He's undersized, that can play outside, sure, but he's getting beat by all the good receivers. Not all of them, but a lot of them. Like, he's a high end 2. That's really good to have.
I mean,
Bernardo Green has.
Would you target another corner in the draft or free agency?
You have to. You
would. So you would use one of your draft picks, if not free agency, to acquire yet another defensive back.
I'm not saying a high end guy. You got to find a veteran behind Green who got benched in a playoff game because he wouldn't shut up on the sideline to Kyle. And I like Green. I think he could be a good player, but what they're asking him to do, he struggled at times. You don't know who he can be. I believe he'll be great, or could be great. Not will be, but like you have Upton Stout, who you like a lot. Lenore's a CB2, a high end 1, and Green is a. Is Kyle going to tear my new asshole on Sunday and put Luter Jr. back in there and get burnt for a touchdown? Or are you going to find a guy behind him? They have to find the veteran behind Green in case he blows again, because he was a roller coaster ride last year. You have to spend on your secondary, whether it's the draft or whether it's free agency, whether it's safety, whether it's cornerback. You cannot walk into next year with the same safety room and the same cornerback room. I'm not saying high-end guys. I'm just saying you got to fortify the floor of that room, because right now it's either really high or it's really freaking low.
Well, I mean, your biggest areas outside of receiver being a big issue, of course, is your secondary, your safeties. That whole safety situation is a huge mess.
Yeah.
Your corners, which at one point we thought was solid, has holes in it. Your offensive line is your offensive line. They love those guys. They're never going to change them. But I mean, the secondary has been a major problem for San Francisco. Yeah. The safeties, I love Maladou Mustafa, but guess what? He sucks in coverage. He's not fast. He gets beat by receivers. He hits hard. Plays against the run really well.
He's an in-the-box safety.
Yeah.
Can I say this?
Go ahead.
Yes, please.
The core, the team that got to these Super Bowls that the 49ers built, they built through the draft.
Yes.
They didn't build them through free agency. And they need to do that again. You're not going to build a Super Bowl champion by filling all your positions of need and allocating a bunch of money to a bunch of old free agents. Like you said, it's about hitting in the draft, and then you put the finishing touches on your roster with another pass rusher, with maybe another interior pass rusher, maybe 2 defensive linemen. Maybe get like another receiver in free agency, maybe a backup tight end. I don't know. I'm just putting out random positions, but like this whole thing where like, I understand kind of where Jed is coming from. If he is trying to be not necessarily cheap, but like frugal, like you got to make your way with the draft, man. You can't just build through free agency and expect to win a championship. I mean, they did it in '94, right? But that was a one-off team and they did it. It's not conducive to long-term winning if you're just going to sign all your guys through free agency. To me, it's just ridiculous that like it's gotten to this point where it's kind of this is really a make or break draft for John Lynch, and for this team, because this team, like Matt Mayoka said, in the next 2 years, it's going to change. It's not going to look the same anymore. They have to start sending guys out the door that are old and bring in new guys, and they got to figure out a way to do that through the draft. You have to figure out through the draft how to get better. I'm sorry, you fucking figure it out.
They do, but I mean, the secondary that we're talking about, other than Jason Pinnock, they're all under contract. They have Green still. They have Upton Stout. They have Lenore. They have Jair Brown. They don't. So look, what I'm saying is that theoretically they could say, well, we could look to draft a safety. But if it doesn't pan out, if we don't find one, we still got the same crew we got last season. They don't have to waste money on that. I'm not saying that they shouldn't waste money on it, they shouldn't spend money on it, but I'm saying from their point of view, that's an area that they can say, hey, we're still developing that whole core. So, we'll probably look to draft another one, but they don't have to spend money there. They don't have to spend money on linebacker either. They have Tatum Bethune. They have D. Winters. They probably should draft another linebacker.
Last year of his deal, though, I believe D. Winters
was what?
D. Winters. I think D. Winters is in the last year of his deal.
This year he is.
Yeah.
So it's a make or break season for him.
I would not bring him back.
And they're not sold on D. Winters. They're hoping. I can tell you right now, Kyle Shanahan is praying every night that he goes to bed that Dre Greenlaw gets cut. Because I can guarantee you, he wants him back.
Why?
You've heard Fred Warner. You've heard Fred Warner say. He told Dre Greenlaw, he's like, if there was one jersey that represented the 49ers in Kyle's mind, it would be 57 Dre Greenlaw. He loves Dre Greenlaw.
But
for 6 games?
Maybe he gets more than that. Who knows? But you still got D. Winters behind him that can spell him.
But that's the thing, man, is that I know you can get into last year and they tried to get him back from Denver after he wanted to sign that deal. Yeah, it's because Robert Saleh was here. Robert Saleh's not here anymore. The defense is not going to be entirely different, but it's going to change a little bit. And I think for the better, albeit Robert was doing some things that Raheem does, but there are some differences in their coverages and in their fronts and everything. Like this, I think, is depending on how long Raheem Morris is here. I'm banking on at least 2 seasons, maybe 3 or 4 if you get lucky.
2.
I don't know what his next head coaching cycle looks like. I don't think it'll be very fruitful for him, but who knows? You are going to see the Niners have to continue to pour into their defense via the draft.
Absolutely.
But think about it though. When you think of the holes they have offensively, it's a couple wide receivers. You can draft one. You can sign a guy or two. Okay, fine. Now, they have to be the right guys, of course. If you're going to be targeted in your search for more offensive players, you want to make sure you're getting the right dudes in the building. But you can draft the backup tight end. I mean, my God, they're a dime a dozen in the NFL. You think you have a backup running back in Jordan James, Grendo's still there, and you can sign running backs for basically a bucket of popcorn and, I don't know, a freaking spa day at the casino resort. I don't know. They're cheap as hell. You don't need a quarterback. You're not going to need a left tackle. They really only have 3 holes offensively. Left guard, Brendo's still there under contract for 1 more year. You get used to it. It's going to stay. It's left guard. It's a couple of receivers, if not just one, really, if they find the right guy. And then it's backup running back. And that's only because CMC wants one. So you have 3 holes offensively. And then defense, that's where you have to make your bread and butter. So their 6, 7 draft picks, really, in my opinion, outside of maybe 1 player, maybe 2, with that being a receiver and that being a tight end, should all be defensive players. All of them.
It should be defensive players.
Go find a safety. Go find a cornerback. Go find a defensive tackle. Go find an edge rusher. That's 5. And then go get your receiver and go get a tight end. You're done. The Niners don't need to be massive spenders. They don't need to be out there just throwing money around. They just have to make sure the guys they bring in can actually be beneficial and produce. Unfortunately, a lot of the guys they brought in have not produced, or they've been inconsistent in their production. But Aaron brought up something earlier about him not believing John Lynch maybe has the longevity, the legs to be here for a long time, or being out on John Lynch as maybe the long-term solution at GM for San Francisco, which steers us into the Niners bringing back Kwesi Adofo-Mensah from the Vikings, who was their former GM, got fired during the offseason, as a personal executive to help in the draft and free agency process. Aaron, because you were not out on John Lynch, but on the outs with John Lynch, he has to redeem himself in your eyes. When you heard they're bringing in Kwesi, what were your thoughts? Were you happy? Were you upset? Or did you look at that draft track record and say, maybe you should have brought in somebody else?
I mean, he was here through 17 through 19, right?
I believe so, yes.
I mean, they made some picks. I mean, they got Warner, they got Kittle. 19 was a pretty fruitful draft. They got Greenlaw. Thinking of Debo as well in 19. Like, he was here for some good drafts.
So was John Lynch, though.
Right. I don't know. I mean, it's always, I would have loved them to bring in an outside person, who has a different set of eyes. I don't know. I mean, at least they've put it this way. At least they're addressing that maybe they have a problem by making that move. Like, hey, you know what? We're going to bring in an extra set of eyes, even though those eyes have been here as far as free agency and the draft goes. I mean, there was a rumor, and it was Larry was talking, say what you want about some of the stuff that he's predicting in the offseason, but like him and another person, I forget who it was. It might have been Dieter Kurtenbach or whatever the other guy's name is. They said something about a possible front office guy coming in, and it happened.
Yeah, is Dieter. Yeah.
So I mean, I'm cool that they're addressing it, and it's cool that they maybe see that they have an issue. But like, he's a guy that's already been here before, so like, how much can he really help you? He's part of the club that was already here during their first Super Bowl run. So like, is he really going to do anything that's just going to blow your doors off and be like, wow, that's because he was here that we made those 3 draft picks that ended up being stars on the team in 2026. I really don't know. I mean, like I said, I'm pretty much out on John Lynch unless he absolutely just kills the draft this year and, drafts like 6 starters, future starters. But I don't know. We'll see. I'm trying to be positive about it because he was here during some successful selections, but the more I talk to you guys or Mike, he kind of pulled me back in the other direction of like, what a freaking lazy hire. They just brought somebody that was already here back into the fold. So
as long as there's somebody else in the room to say, hey, wait, are you sure you want to get that guy? I'm fine with it.
Are you sure about that?
I mean,
sure.
Was he a guru in Minnesota? Not really, but
go look at their
yeah, I did.
Terrible.
There was nobody of note on there, and like JJ McCarthy was ranked like 12th on all his draft picks. I was like, oh god.
Their last 3 first-round draft picks are Donovan Jackson, who may be good. It'll be in year 2 this year. JJ McCarthy, and then Jordan Addison, who they want to trade this offseason.
Yeah.
That's not good.
That's not good.
And he made those picks. Like the Kwesi, for as much love as he may get from the fan base,
but some guys aren't cut out for that position. Some guys get into that GM role and they just shit the bed. It's just not for them. So maybe he's better at whatever role he's going to be in. And look, they even said they're like, I think we'll really be able to solidify his role after the draft, which basically means they brought him in to help them with the draft. Yeah, and then after the draft, they're going to be like, okay, where do you fit in here? Let's find you a spot, or let's give you an official title.
You are on substation.
Yeah, exactly. You're on substation watch. You're going to be our social media leader. Because I mean, look, Seattle won the Super Bowl, right? And had they won that Super Bowl, they won it off their defense. Say what you want about their offense, they won it off their defense, right? And I'm sorry.
Basically played keep away at that point.
Yeah. Yep. I'm sorry. That is exactly what John Lynch has been trying to do since he got here. They tried to do that in 2019. It didn't work. They tried to do it again in 2023 with a better offense and a better quarterback, and it didn't work. Both those teams had stacked defenses.
But we went against a quarterback of this generation.
And both those teams just fell short of winning that title. Yeah. The Seahawks, you could argue that they were a really good team, and they were. And they were a damn good defensive team. But, I mean, come on. When you go up against Drake May and the New England Patriots, who had the easiest schedule in the NFL, who had a worse record against winning teams, who played the Denver Broncos with their backup quarterback in the AFC title game, and that's why they got ran over in the Super Bowl, because they were not that good. Were they a bad team? No. Were they as good as the Seahawks?
And
hell
it's also worth mentioning their MVP finalist quarterback was the worst quarterback in the entire playoffs, not named CJ Stroud, too.
I'm telling you right now, the winner of the Super Bowl was either going to be the Seahawks, the Rams, or the Niners. If either one of those three teams gets to the Super Bowl, all three of those teams beat the Patriots.
I think, sure, but I think Denver, had Bo Nix been healthy, actually would have won.
No, I'm not saying that, but I'm saying...
You mean the NFC.
In the NFC, if the Niners, the Seahawks, or the Rams made the Super Bowl, all three of those teams would have beaten the Patriots.
Healthy Niners team would have won the Super Bowl. The team
even
that was
as
in the
they
playoff,
were, I think they could have.
No, their defense would have gotten... Drake May would have made them look like a high school.
I don't know. Drake May looked terrified.
Look who he was going against.
Yeah, Seattle, not San
he was just like, what's happening?
He's not going against a non-existent pass rush.
You telling me Keon White wouldn't have got a sack?
Probably not.
He would have got shot in the ankle.
Bryce Huff?
My thing is, and I totally just lost my train of thought.
Keon White made the shoestring tackle against Jalen Hurts to save the game. Come on, you guys.
Let's steer the conversation away from
the Seahawks did not exist, different story. Look, the Rams almost beat them, and you saw how hard it was for the Rams to almost beat the Seahawks at home in Seattle.
Aaron, let's steer the ship back on track from the Super Bowl, because it's a long time ago and we all want to let it go. We are in the month of nearly March now. Let's table the Super Bowl. And I think an interesting comment John Lynch made in the press conference was about their new coaching hire, that being Raheem Morris. And it got some fans talking as to who actually wears the metaphorical pants in the front office. Is it John Lynch? Is it Jed York? Or is it Kyle Shanahan? Because they asked him, what about the addition and who was the one spearheading the search for Raheem Morris? And John basically said Kyle's the one that hired him. When you heard that, Aaron, what did you think? Did you say, oh, that makes sense, Kyle's the kind of the CEO guy, we've known that for a long time? Or did you say, oh, maybe Kyle is more of the one doing the decision-making and John's just kind of the spokesperson for the front office?
I don't know. Like, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm not going to sit there and be like, oh, there's tension between John and Kyle. John is trying to, clear his name just in case, Morris fails as a defense coordinator. No, I think it was Kyle's decision who he wanted to bring in. He is the head coach of the team, and he saw that Raheem Morris was out there, and he decided he wanted to take a shot and reunite with him. I don't think it's any deeper than that. I really don't think a GM personally should be involved in defensive coordinator hires. Let the coach, it's his coaching staff. I think the coach should be the one who's making hires for his actual staff. So John Lynch saying that it was a Kyle Shanahan decision, I totally 100% believe it. Do I think Kyle has a lot of power in this organization? Hell yes. He has a lot more power than you think. But no, I don't think there's dissension between the two of them.
I think that it makes more sense for Kyle to make that hire than John. He's the one in meetings with Raheem Morris every single day. He's the one in the defensive meetings. He's the one putting together game plans. He's the one coaching with Raheem Morris. Why does John Lynch need to be spearheading that conversation? Yeah. Why does John Lynch? Yeah, he's a GM. I get that, but we know Kyle is the guy. If John can get fired tomorrow and Kyle be here for the next decade, we know that.
Yep.
And rightfully so. Kyle is the 49ers. John Lynch is not, or at least not as much. And so I didn't understand oh my God, John's peeling back the curtain and there's trouble, or, whatever, or maybe Kyle told John to, take a seat. But to me, it makes more sense. Like, you're not bringing back Robert Saleh. You're hiring a brand new person that Kyle knows that was arrested with like 30 years ago. Why would he not be the one spearheading that search for the next DC, knowing he has to work with that guy every single day? He's not the guy that just points finger and say, yeah, that's the DC. No, Kyle's like, we're in the trenches. John really isn't, right? John's like, oh, I have scouts, so I have personnel people. John's kind of like, I'll put the final stamp on things. He's kind of the president, right? Where it's like Congress and the Senate do all the work. He's just like, oh, okay, sign up on the bill or I'll veto this. Whereas Kyle's like, I am the one that does all the dirty work. But Dre, when you heard that from John, what'd you make of it?
Well, I think he sold himself short when he said, Kyle makes those choices. I just see out of that, I was just kind of like, whoa, dude, what are you doing? You say, you know what? We made a decision that he was the best candidate for the position. He let the cat out of the bag. I was like, oh, so Kyle made that choice. Because what happened last time when John Lynch made that choice? He brought in Steve Wilks. And what happened?
Was that a John thing?
That was a John thing. As far as I understand, John Lynch had more to do with that than Kyle Shanahan did. And that's why him and Shanahan didn't get along. What did they do? What did they know after they lost that Super Bowl? Steve Wilks is going to get fired. And we're going to fire Steve Wilks. Who are you going to place him with? I don't fucking know. Bill Belichick? Maybe. But they got rid of him fast, so fast. But guess what? They went to the Super Bowl that year because he went and got somebody who was more of a defensive backs. He favored his defensive backs. And what is John Lynch? He was a safety. I'm telling you, there's some correlation there. This time, he probably said, "Hey, look, we just interviewed, all three of these guys. What do you want to do? I want Raheem." Okay.
I want Raheem.
I really think it just came down to also he was the best candidate available.
Well, I mean, yeah, because if you went Gus Bradley, you're edging on the kind of on that Brandon Staley type territory where you're like, we just went with the guy who's already in the room. Oh shit,
yeah, sitting
and
duck.
then what was the other guy's name? Modkins or no, the other guy who interviewed for the DC role, the guy from the Raiders.
Oh jeez, I'm forgetting his name. But
Modkins, I think. Anyway, there was no way he was going to get that job. I was like,
if they had their choice and he would have been available, we already know who would have been the defense coordinator here. And I think a lot of fans would have
Robert
been
Saleh.
No, not Robert Saleh. Mr. Schwartz. The Schwartz.
I think I think they would have liked the idea of Schwartz coming in here because of how good he's been as a defensive coordinator. But again, Kyle doesn't know him. He knows
he does have a little Wilkes vibe from him too.
Yeah, where if he's like, "Hey, what the fuck are you doing?" He's like, "Fuck you! Don't talk to me that way." You saw him when Harbaugh gave him the hard handshake. He's like, "Hey, where you going?" They were running down the tunnel. Like, you can't tell me that Kyle's gonna walk in there. Joe Woods, thank you, Strawberry. I was way off, but Joe Woods, and so you can't tell me that he wouldn't have done that in some form or fashion to Kyle. Kyle wanted somebody that he knows. He wants a buddy. He wants a guy he can trust. That is Kyle's mentality for everything. When it comes to receivers, I want a guy I can trust. I want a guy I can rely on. I want a guy that I know. Deebo Samuel. Raheem Morris.
Oh, let's bring back Javon Hargrave if we have to.
No.
Or Javon.
He's not bad for the Vikings last year.
Javon Hargrave burned them too hard with the contract they gave him and the production that he gave them. He burned them. They were like, "Get this guy out of here."
Okay, let's round out today's show by doing our favorite thing and seeing what the Niners players think of the organization and look at the NFLPA report cards, because Woody Johnson, the Jets owner, was the one that said, nah. I don't want these things getting out. I don't want my organization being crapped on by the media for the next 4 months and being shown how poorly we're run behind the scenes. Meanwhile, San Francisco does relatively well in this department. They've been one of the more better run organizations via how they treat their players and how they handle them behind the scenes. But we have the 2025 report cards, and I don't think the results are that shocking. See if I can bring this up on the screen for us. And God forbid,
you should have let Aaron present this one. I mean, it's right down his alley.
I really should have.
This pizza was made for Aaron.
It's right up his alley. Let's see if I can find it here. Hopefully, I can get these.
Oh, it has all of his favorite toppings. It was like I saw
injuries,
it. I was like,
injuries and a little bit of injuries.
yeah. When I saw it, I was like, that's a pizza that Aaron would have devoured right now. I'm like, oh, there it is.
Yeah.
That's a pizza. For whatever reason, it's not working on my end. So
I can try to find it for you.
okay, let's see if that works. Let's see here. Oh, here we go. We got it. Okay. Let's look at these. Okay, so we have the Niners being a class act organization. This is from tip of the hat to Coach Yak for bringing this up for us. But the Niners get a B for the treatment of families. They get an A- for their home game field, food an A, nutrition, dietitian B+, locker room a B, weight room an A, strength coaches an A, position coaches an A, coordinators an A. Pretty much everything is an A, besides a handful of glaring things that I think every fan said, oh, you think? It's almost like it's on display every single year with you guys. And yes, that is when it comes to the training room, the training staff, and the team travel, all getting either a C+ or a C-. We're talking a near D grade for things like the training room and the training staff. And if I'm the San Francisco 49ers, and I've heard the substation talk for the past, 4 months or so, 3 months or so, getting national headlines, your own team, your own owner having to answer questions about it. You've had to deal with the injuries that have piled up for the last half decade or so under this regime, and even the one prior to this regime. And you see that your own players rank your training room a C-, almost a D. You see them rank your training staff, who is not solely responsible, but has a very large part in the recovery and recuperation and prevention of the injuries on your team, getting a near D grade. You better be embarrassed. And this needs to push them to make a change. It is an absolute travesty that this team, this ownership group, John Lynch, sit back and willingly decide to do nothing about the injury talk. This isn't fans complaining. This isn't media complaining. This is the people you are playing millions of dollars to win you a Super Bowl, saying you are not putting us in the best position to succeed. If your own players think that, if your superstar players think that, your punter, special teamers think that, you are doing something wrong. And you have to make that change. Aaron, you have been one of the louder mouthpieces of the three of us in regard to the injuries. When you saw this, were you, one, surprised, shocked, and two, does this have you pounding the table saying, for the love of God, man, it ain't me complaining into the void. This is your own players complaining. What'd you make of it?
I just think it's crazy because I've been very vocal about it and I've been very angry about it for years that, there's all this evidence of them being at the top of the list of one of the most injured teams every single year other than 2023. And it even predates this regime a little bit too. And everybody telling me that, all teams get injured and the NFL is really hurt this year. Look at the Bills. And I'm like, it's a one-off. A lot of this is a one-off. The Niners are consistently at the top of the list of one of the most injured teams every single year. If you have free agents who maybe have been on this team that left this team or be like, man, I never really was hurt until I went to San Francisco and I seemed to not be able to get any better when I was part of that franchise. And then I go somewhere else and all of a sudden I'm better. Like when they talked about the substation, and I know it's kind of like silly or whatever, but like when you hear about players being like, I don't know if I want to go there, because they're correlating this history and they're seeing, okay, the substation is an easy out to say like, oh, I don't want to go there because of that. But like the fact that your own players notice that you're oft injured almost every single year, and you've really essentially had the same guy running it for over 10 years. They've replaced
is his name.
They have some people underneath him that have changed, but the actual core guy, the guy that runs it, is exactly the same. This seems like the only way we're Kyle and Jed might be like, okay, maybe we have a legitimate issue. Because me bitching into the void or other people complaining or big name content creators complaining, they don't care. But if their own players feel this way, here's the thing that I always talk about. When are we going to get a media member with a pair of balls that'll bring this up and be like, hey, John, so your own players are rating you at one of the lower teams in the league when it comes to training staff, and correlating that with the amount of injuries you seem to have every single year. Are you going to do anything about that, or what do you think about that? But no one will answer. No one will ask him that, and that's the thing that aggravates me.
Well, they kind of have asked him that, and he keeps saying, "Hey, look, we try and find every way possible to avoid injury, and it's just a presidential answer.
He'd be perfect for the White House, man. He'd just be a
political answer. Here's the thing: the problem that John Lynch has, and for the most part, the organization, is that they are very loyal to their people. And unless something dramatic happens, which I would have said last year was pretty dramatic, and this report card is pretty dramatic, they need to make some changes. But I guarantee you they won't, because they probably view their training staff like they view their offensive line. Hey, we love those guys. Those guys go out there and they, give their heart and soul, and we're just really thrilled with these guys, and we wouldn't want any other guys out there but the guys that we got. I can guarantee you they feel the same way. What can they improve on? The training room. I know it's an older room. They'll probably make some adjustments to that, some renovations maybe. But unless they have a season like they did this past season, next season, and even then, I don't know if they'll ever make a move to their training staff.
I think the issue that is happening, and I think it's something Dre hit on, that was kind of in a positive way in regards to Raheem Morris, of somebody that Kyle trusts and Kyle knows he works well with, and he believes can streamline things for him as a head coach, not if it's a coordinator. I think that same thing is the actual problem with the training staff, because they did make changes to the staff. They just moved a couple guys out and promoted from within. Guys that were already on that staff doing the exact same things. You look at how other teams, whether it's stretch or the field itself, it's not what San Francisco does. You hear players talk about, some of the differences in how they practice, albeit that's kind of changed in recent seasons, but you've heard players bring up things of like, whoa, we do things a lot different in New York and in Cincinnati and in Kansas City and wherever. And look, I know each coach has their own small details they want to get across and how they want to do things a particular way. That's every job and every single facet of life. Yet, the problem is, of the 32 teams, you are one of the lowest rated training staffs amongst them. And I fear that loyalty that Kyle has, that the comfortability that John and the rest of the coaching staff or training staff have with Perry is getting in the way of making a decision that needs to be done. I don't want to call for guys to lose their jobs unless they're bad football players. And you can find new guys, Nick and elsewhere, and fit a new system. But at some point in time, you have to rip the Band-Aid off and at least see if that can be fixed. We all talk about the substation of whether it's real, whether it's not. You got to at least look into it. Just to give your players a peace of mind that it's not going to cause them a problem.
Same with free agents.
Right. Like George Kittle said, even if it's a 1% chance, it affects us. We would like to know that. And if we got to make a change, we can make a change. We've had the same problem for over a decade. You've kind of changed training staffs, but promoted from within. And that problem persisted throughout. They've not gotten healthier at all throughout Dustin Perry's tenure with San Francisco. So why would you not say, hey, this part of the organization is failing. We have to change it. You've changed defensive coordinators. You've changed offensive line coaches. You've changed defensive backs coaches. I mean, God, you've changed personnel a billion times, rightfully so. Why do you not want to change your training staff? Like this, yes, falls on Dustin Perry, but also falls on Kyle and John of your negligence to change everything else. But what may actually be the problem is the issue. Not, oh, they got to get healthier. No, if there's a problem, you have to find a solution to fix it. And they're doing everything else besides looking at the problem and saying, hey, why are our own players that we're paying $1 billion in total, why are they unhappy with this? That, to me, falls on John and Kyle, but there's got to be a change. Even if it wasn't the injuries, a C- grade for a training staff in the NFL is inherently a problem. You're $1 billion organization getting C- and Ds. That's inexcusable. Even if there weren't injuries, even if guys weren't tearing their ACLs and Jacob Cowling didn't play a whole year because he had 4 hamstring strains, your training staff as the San Francisco 49ers should not have a C- grade ever.
Ever.
And you're in the middle of your Super Bowl window, and it's the worst it's ever been. Something has to change.
And then every year we get this from John or Kyle about, well, we just got to get healthy. No, last year we had some injuries. It's every year. It's the same story. There is nothing in my heart that says they're going to figure it out this offseason and we're going to be way healthier next year. I have zero confidence.
Zero.
That they're going to be healthier next year. I know that the injuries to Bosa and Warner were like freak. Same thing with Mikel. But all the soft tissue injuries, the re-injuries, where like a guy's getting better and then somehow he gets worse through the week and then is more hurt and then he's gone more. Like, how does that happen all the time? Like, what is the problem? I got so much grief from people saying that the NFL is a tough sport and injuries happen.
Oh, it is.
It is. But
it is. It absolutely is.
But to the lengths that people have tried to deny that the 49ers have a legitimate problem. And I think I hate to say that I feel vindicated, but the fact that your own players are saying, hey, we think things could be better. I feel like I stay injured longer with this staff, or I feel like I don't get better quick enough with this staff. Glad that somebody had the testicular fortitude, or the players, to vote on this. The fact that team travel on there too has got a bad grade, that's hilarious. But we're a first class organization. Maybe not.
All right, Dre, I will give things off to you for our final thoughts on this afternoon.
You know, to quote the movie Batman vs. Superman, yesterday was his, I think today is the 10-year anniversary of that movie.
The Snyderverse has saved lives, according to Zack Snyder.
That's right. If I'm not going to call them our enemy, because that's a little bit top. But if the training staff is the problem, if there's a 1% chance the training staff is the problem, we have to take that as an absolute certainty that needs to be addressed immediately. Look at all the injuries. You can argue the substation. I don't think there's anything to that. But I think in order to bring in talent and to put that to bed, I would do something to shore that up. May it be some kind of barrier you put up to block EMF, something. Just to say, hey, look, we did that. And not to mention, it's an ugly sight to look over and see all those like power grid things sticking up. I've always thought that, even when Steve Young and all of them were over there, I was always like, that's really weird. Why is that there? It's just fucking weird.
It'll also save footballs from going over the fence too. But
yeah. How many of them do go over the fence and then they retreat?
They explode because of the EMF.
I just think this. I think with the amount of injuries the amount of soft tissue injuries that they dealt with last season, I think that the training staff needs to be reevaluated 100%. And I think that the facility, it wouldn't surprise me if the training staff, nothing happens, but the facility gets an overhaul. And they say, oh, plans are in place to renovate the training facility after this coming season. Because it was already out there, even before the report card. that the Niners training facility is rather old. It's been there for a while.
They really should put a dome over it. That to me seems like the pretty logical solution.
They have one of those like old Iron Paradise type of weight rooms where it's like kind of aged and crusty. Yeah. They don't. It doesn't look like. Yeah, it's like
cold
something.
Gym.
You walk in there and like the.
I mean, look at the stadium. It looks like it's still under construction. You know, it has a weird look to it. I'm sorry. Levi's is a weird looking stadium. It's just on the outside.
Levi looks like something that you create in Madden.
Yeah.
Like when you used to be able to create stadiums and everything.
One of the preset ones they used to have.
Yeah. Very, what's the word? Like very,
it's like futuristic.
It's like bare bones.
No, not even futuristic. It's just very plain. There's a word I'm looking for, but I can't think of it. I don't want to waste time. But like
generic.
Yeah, super generic.
But
when something's really clean, what do they call it? Very
pristine.
Cookie cutter.
No, not cookie cutter.
God damn it.
We're gonna be here all night looking for words.
Yeah, we're done.
All right, here I got one last thing. I'm gonna share the screen. This is big news that I want to share with you guys. Chris Berman has decided to hang it up after the 2029 NFL season when his contract expires. God, look at this guy.
Man, what a
decrepit.
Well, he's a real big asshole behind the scenes, so you know.
Back.
You ever seen those videos where he's just like ripping people behind the scenes? Talk about people moving in
Do
front of the
not
camera.
talk bad about Chris Berman. I grew up watching Primetime.
Don't you ever bring up the Schwalbe in a negative way.
Chris Berman and what was his name? Jackson. Is it Steve Jackson? Tom Jackson.
Tom Jackson.
Those
were the good days.
Those were the best. I don't care if the Niners won or lost. I would watch NFL Primetime every Sunday night just to watch all the highlights and watch them do it.
The Niners through that era got the glaze that a lot of like the Patriots got during the same era and the Chiefs. Like you were a Niners fan through like the late 80s, early 90s, even into the mid 90s. The amount of respect you got when like highlights were on or this. You weren't the Browns. You didn't get like a 2-second highlight of somebody catching a touchdown. Like the Niners were always kind of well spoken for. I miss those days.
He used to always say, depending on what game it was, he'd be like, "Oh, those tricky Bengals!" You know, if a team did a trick play,
nobody circles the wagon.
He could go
like
all the way. or I remember when the Niners had what's his name, Eric Johnson. He was a tight end.
Yeah.
Chris Berman would say. And throws the pass complete to Eric Johnson and then Tom Jackson would go, Yale!
Oh.
He was from Yale.
My favorite was the old Garrison first, I look at the hearse. Like, what?
Well, let's hope the Niners can fix their injury problem by the year 2029 once Chris Berman retires. That said, Aaron, Dre, it's always a pleasure. Enjoy the rest of your Friday. I'm going to go pick up my wife and go watch Scream 7 and have a dinner date to celebrate the beginning of the weekend. If everybody could in the YouTube chat, even on Facebook and on X, like, share, and subscribe to all three of our channels, 49ers Access, 49ers First Takes, and Dre Area Sports on all three platforms. Until next time, though, my name is Sterling Bennett. That's Aaron. That's Dre. This has been the Cover 3 podcast. And as always, stay faithful.